All right, ladies and gentlemen, MrSotko here. Welcome back to the channel. Got some good news stuff for you today. As usual, we're going to talk about the market. All kinds of good stuff. Good stuff. So before we get started, I'd like to thank whoever donated some Bitcoin to me. Not too much, but it was about $4 and some odd Bitcoin from an anonymous donor. So whenever you donate, you can write a little message or you can email me, and then I'll call your name out. But if you don't want it, just go ahead and throw an anonymous one out there, and I'll just slap anonymous next to it. And that'll be the end of it. But I'd like to shout out to the donators of the channel. And there is that. But the main story of today is that the SEC has claimed that Bitcoin and Ethereum are not securities. So going around for a while, there was this issue if Ethereum was a security or not, and if Bitcoin was a security, and if they were, then it would create a lot of trouble for exchanges, particularly American exchanges, in how they go about dealing with it. And it could have lowered the price quite a bit if they turned out to be securities. And now that they are not securities, we are seeing a slight increase in prices. Is it the market that's just going up? Is it the news about this that's making it going up? Who knows? But we are recovering just a little bit. We're up to 288 billion market cap, so about 20 or so billion more than we were the last time. So is it going to last? Is it a dead cat bounce? We don't know just yet. But the winner of the day is definitely Knowles and Siacoin, as there was some news about Siacoin that made it pump specifically, and we'll get into that in just a moment. So quite a bit of recovery. So anybody that bought all the way at the bottom, particularly with EOS, as it was down to like $9.80 or so, and now it's moving on up. So was a good buy. It's kind of still is at the moment. So the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission has taken its sweet time in determining how to classify cryptos. You could say that. Finally, during a speech in San Francisco, the Director of Finance, William Hinman, basically said that it's not the name that matters, but rather the way a cryptocurrency is distributed, marketed, and used. So he first discussed how different coins were being looked at by the SEC, the most important factor being the circumstances surrounding the coin and the way it was distributed. So calling the transaction an initial coin offering or ICO or a sale of a token will not take it out of the purview of the U.S. securities law. So if it's based on a project that you're making that is something else, so maybe you're selling something and you're making it blockchain, and you're using an ICO to build up the funds to actually make this product or service, then likely it's going to be a security. But if it's just a standalone blockchain, it does not seem like it's going to be a security. So things that are not securities have their own blockchain, apparently. So like Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, you could even say Vertcoin, and some various other coins like that. Maybe even EOS to some extent now, although EOS could have been a security before, but now that it has its own mainnet, is it a security? So that's still kind of a question that needs answering. So the SEC's stance may throw a wrench into many companies' plans, particularly those looking to launch an ICO in the future. Said startups and companies will have to take steps to ensure that they comply with whatever rules and regulations the regulatory authorities lay out. So now most ICOs just going to be securities, and there's going to be a whole bunch of hoopla about that. I don't really know the law that well in terms of that, so there's going to be some hoops to jump through. Hoopla. But what about cases where there is no longer any central enterprise being invested in, or where the digital asset is sold only to be used to purchase a good or service available through the network on which it was created? I believe in these cases the answer is qualified yes, so it's a security. By yes, Hinman means such digital assets may be considered non-securities. Oh, so non-securities. So many blockchain startups that have raised money through ICOs aim to build decentralized projects in which the tokens have some form of utility. Eventually, the hope is that the network will be able to run independently of the company. For networks that achieve this level of decentralization, it could potentially lead to a reclassification of their token. So EOS almost certainly was a security when it was an ERC20 token, when it was being developed to develop the mainnet, to develop the EOS company as a whole. And then when it gets its mainnet, which it has, and it's being voted on currently. There was a big fiasco with that, but that's a different story. Then it will be reclassified not as a security. So when I look at Bitcoin today, I do not see a central third party whose efforts are a key determining factor in the enterprise. The network on which Bitcoin functions is operational and appears to have been decentralized for some time, putting aside the fundraising that accompanied the creation of Ethereum. Based on my understanding of the present state of Ethereum, the Ethereum network and its decentralized structure, current offers and sales of Ether are not securities transactions because it's not really connected to an actual product or funding some kind of product or service. So that's what I am getting out of all that. So that's actually good news. That's going to be a lot smoother for some tokens, and it's going to be worse for other tokens, for like ICO tokens. So we'll have to see how that goes. So another article now is Western Union cryptos aren't replacing dollars anytime soon. So if you remember, if you're a longtime viewer of the channel or any kind of crypto news, you might have noticed that a while back, several months ago, Western Union was testing Ripple to see if they could lower their costs and lower costs for customers and things like that. And apparently it did not go too well. Basically says that will not be offering crypto transfers in the near future. Nations are built on flags, constitutions, borders, and currencies. The consumers tell us what they want. People aren't paying their hospital bills in crypto. All right, what? All right. He said it in a speech at the Economics Club of New York. So this is especially true in countries which could be described as cash-only economies, where most corner stores and even some supermarkets do not accept debit card payments. People used to paying with tangible cash rarely transition to something digital unless they have a gateway. Admittedly, cryptocurrencies are not user-friendly for people unfamiliar with online digital purchases, so it's even harder to wrap one's head around the difference between a blockchain and a banking institution. Now, I'm going to go ahead and agree with Western Union on that, but here's the thing that I'm going to massively disagree with. It is definitely very apparent to me that Western Union did not try very hard with this, or looked into it very well, or probably had any kind of cryptocurrency expert as a consultant for this. So here's what I would have said. Now, again, laws, regulations, and stuff, maybe a little bit above my head. I get that. But if they were to brought me on board, here's what I would have told them. I would have been like, hey, you don't need to accept crypto for this. What you do is you just buy Ripple, and, then you send the Ripple across the country, right? So if I want to send somebody $100 and I want it to go to Ghana in Africa, I give them $100. They get $100. Then they send that Ripple to their other location in Ghana, and then they give Ghanese money, whatever they use, to the other people. Maybe that's a little naive, but it just seems like they could have tried a little harder on this. They don't have to accept crypto to necessarily send money. They could just accept the crypto, accept the money, or buy the crypto, accept the money, and then just give the money on the other end. But again, a little bit complicated. So that's unfortunate, because I was kind of a little psyched about Western Union doing this, because whether or not you like Western Union or not, it is a very useful thing for people to send money across without banks and stuff. And also, it is a currency sending corporation, which would be perfect for a cryptocurrency, as we see a lot of cryptocurrencies being developed or being partnershiped with things that make no sense, like Verge and Pornhub. Why would you go out of your way to buy Verge and then go on to Pornhub and buy a subscription? Why not just use your debit card? It makes no sense. And then you might be like, well, there might be countries where people don't have debit cards. Well, then how did you get the Verge to begin with? How did you get the money to put on an exchange to get the Verge to begin with? So there's just a lot of questions behind that. But Western Union sending crypto around the world makes total sense, because that's what they do. So very unfortunate that happened. So next article. SIA pumps following Binance listing. SIA trading pairs on Binance platform. So according to the announcement, Binance will open trading for 3 SIA coin trading pairs. So SIA Cord, Binance Coin, Bitcoin, and Ethereum. The platform also revealed that trading would commence at 11 a.m. Traders can begin depositing a SIA coin into their balance accounts in preparation for the start of SIA coin trading, I guess. So that made SIA coin pump. We got the graph right here, and it was a pretty all right pump. So if you happen to hold SIA coin before this pump, great. If you hold SIA coin, if you do not hold SIA coin, you're like, hey, I want to get on this pump, I would not recommend that, because it's probably going to go down pretty quickly. But good luck with that. So it's up by 20%, listing on Binance, and the trading will begin soon. It said that the trading would commence at 11 a.m. So it looks like it may already be going on. So if you have Sia Coin, and you want to trade it on an exchange, you don't, Binance is your favorite exchange, there you go, Sia Coin. So there's not much else to really be said about the article other than that they listed it. And every time a new coin gets listed on a new exchange, or rather a coin gets listed on a new exchange, it gets pumped a little bit. And so nothing surprising there, but it is a new news regardless. Next article! Boom! Bitcoin searches spike on Google Trends. All right, so we're starting to look a little better now. This is good. So analyzing the latest Google Trends data, we could see a clear peak in recent Bitcoin searches in the last 5 days, comparable to relatively normal blockchain cryptocurrency search levels over a 90-day range. So the Google statistics for Google searches for Bitcoin is a good thing. When people search Bitcoin, people learn about Bitcoin, people buy Bitcoin, people use Bitcoin, people spend Bitcoin, yada yada, and that's good. So it needs to be higher. And with the price slump in January, February, December, it went way downhill, and we've seen some of the lowest searches in quite some time for Bitcoin. So at this stage, Google statistics only plot as recently as June 11th, with Bitcoin's value jumping from 268 from 36. So the highest search levels the number one cryptocurrency has seen since April. So pretty good. So looking at the breakdown of the top 5 geographical locations, love that geography, where people have been searching for Bitcoin the most, we can see that South Africa comes out on top with a value of 82. And this could potentially be due to South Africa citizens researching into Bitcoin following the recent expansion of the Zimbabwe crypto exchange, Golix, across Uganda, South Africa, and Kenya. So in a bid to avoid the crypto ban in its home location. So interestingly, Nigeria and Ghana, 2 countries also on the African continent, have been listed as having the second and third highest search hits for Bitcoin. So Bitcoin very, very popular in Africa. Great. All the power to it. Way ahead of the most more customary pro-crypto countries such as Singapore, which is 6th, US, which is 13th, Hong Kong, which is way down in 22nd. So does this mean we should anticipate new Bitcoin market support to appear from African investors in the near future? Or will we have to rely on the current struggling global support to try and drive Bitcoin back above 7,000 as traders fight desperately against the recently outlined market manipulation, which is pretty apparent at this point. Next article. I don't know why I'm saying it with such disdain, but I just feel like it. I was waiting a long time to do my video today, and because I had a lot of things going on, had a lot of things to do, couldn't get around to it for an hour or 2 later than usual, and I start itching when I'm not talking to myself in front of the camera. And no, it's not crazy. It's not like a psycho thing, because it would be psychotic if I didn't upload this video and then I just held this video on my computer or something like that for later viewing. Sousy. But it's not psychotic because I'm uploading it to the internet. So I'm not insane. You all are real. You're not just fake people. I'm not living in a fantasy world. William Shatner joins Bitcoin mining project, admits he doesn't quite get it, though. All right. Okay, William Shatner. That's okay. So Solar Alliance announced icon actor William Shatner as their celebrity spokesperson for their startup using the sun's energy power to mine Bitcoin. This isn't Mr. Shatner's first encounter with cryptocurrency, and even still, he readily admits not understanding what he's shilling. That's okay, William Shatner. You can do anything you want because you're like one of the most popular people on the planet. You probably will be till the end of time. You can do whatever you want, William Shatner. Trust me. William Shatner, you could probably get away with murder. Don't try it, though. William Shatner boldly goes where a lot of people have already gone. Maybe some Captain James T. Kirk's Maverick character on the kitschy television show. If you guys have never watched the original Star Trek, it's fantastic. It's absolutely hilarious. The way he fights and the way, just the way they fight and the way he punches people, it straight up just blasts women in the face with his fist. And no, I'm not promoting misogyny or anything like that. Please don't take that way. But it's just ridiculous. Like, if that was on TV today, people would freak out. It's hilarious. The original Star Trek, it's actually really good. It's got a great story most of the time. It's really well put together for the time. It was the most advanced show the world has ever seen for the time. It's actually really great. So in a risque interracial television kiss was the first, Star Trek was a first for that. He was also known to be quite the adventurer, exploring strange new worlds. Perhaps for this fictional role embodiment, Mr. Shatner, 87, to accept a spokesperson gig for Solar Alliance. Let's see here. Solar Alliance is attempting to answer the growing criticism from environmentalists about how Bitcoin mining wastes precious resources. Here's the thing. I appreciate solar power. I appreciate like geothermal power, wave power, all that good stuff that doesn't use, hydrocarbons and whatnot. But here's the thing. When you think that solar power is not wasting precious resources, solar power costs a lot of money and a lot of materials and a lot of very expensive and a lot of things you have to mine and process to make the solar panels to begin with. Okay, but I get it. In the long run, it's probably worth the money. I get it, but like, just don't go out and say that you're not wasting precious resources when you're using solar power. Okay, that's just like you're fooling yourself and everybody around you. It costs a lot to make solar panels. Jason Back explained to his company it would spread out on 14 acres in the middle western United States. You mean the Midwest? It's just called the Midwest. Using solar panels to generate the relatively large amount of energy miners need. Good luck with that, because Bitcoin mining requires a lot of energy. People have literally, I think in Australia, they actually reinstated an old coal power plant to mine to power a Bitcoin mining farm. Now, I'm not saying these guys are stupid, right? Because they probably know how to calculate how much power they're going to get out of so many solar panels and whatnot. They're probably not dumb. They're probably engineers and they know what they're doing. But good luck, because it's going to take a lot of solar panels to do this. So Mr. Shatner confessed the concept I guess the world is bizarre. You have to blank your mind and say, what is blockchain again? How does mining operate again? Oh, aren't you like 87, William Shatner? You're so cool. The concepts are really strange, and yet when you begin to grasp it, it makes sense. This seems to be the Canadian-born actor's default position on the phenomenon, and not the crappy movie phenomenon. Back in 2014, when Bitcoin Core could be used as a tipping currency, a fan sent him some Satoshis. Don't send just Satoshis to William Shatner, okay? Okay, people, he's got enough money, okay? He doesn't need Satoshis. He wants whole Bitcoin. Don't disgrace William Shatner with your Satoshis. The iconic actor tweeted in response, "What the heck is a Bitcoin? What the heck is a Bitcoin?" I'm sorry, I'm terrible. I got I'm really bad at it. But you could just, like, when you read that, and they actually had to put sick after the end because he separated bit and coin. And that just makes total sense, William Shatner. Totally. I could read it in my head. Mr. Shatner, present day, said he was made aware of Solar Alliance when they outfitted his own home by coincidence. Asked if he'd take a personal tour of the facility once it's up and running, he affirmed, I'm in Chicago a lot, and I live in Kentucky part of the time. I might very well do that. It's an interesting idea to see it at work because it's so esoteric that it's difficult to understand. In Illinois, small town of less than 10,000 residents, Murphysboro, has laid down the welcome mat to the company. Its mayor has even suggested a 165,000 square foot factory vacant for over a dozen years be converted for mining operations. Mayor Stevens explained his town, like a lot of middle America, have seen job losses because of a change in the worldwide economy. From my perspective, we're going to have someone who will occupy a previously derelict property, and whatever development comes out of it, it will just make it more marketable if the project isn't successful. So, okay, fair enough. But here's the thing. Here's one thing, and I don't mind mining farms. Okay, you got to do what you got to do. I just don't like Bitmain, and I know that's kind of like hypocritical, but whatever. You got to do what you got to do. But mining farms provide surprisingly few employees for the amount of power that they take. Now, this is solar power, and they're doing it themselves, so that's super good. But when a mining company comes to town and connects to the old local power station, they drain a ton of power from the power station. It requires a ton of resources, unbelievable amount, particularly for really large mining operations. Those S9 miners, woo-wee, they take a lot of power. Believe that. Like 1,400, 1,600 watts, depending on the model, yada, yada, each. So it builds up quick. And the thing is, you could say, well, okay, well, it's generating jobs. And no, not really. you can run a whole mining operation with just a few people. Even maybe even just one person, some kind of network administrator that goes around and he says, oh, this particular miner's offline. Let's go ahead and see what's wrong with that. Plug it back in, restart it. This one went kaput, so we got to pack it up in a box. One person can do that and ship it back off to China. Three broke down today out of our 1,000 miners. We'll ship those out, and we'll get in 2 new ones from the last ones that broke down. Really, you could just have a few people doing that. It doesn't take much to really set this up. It probably takes a few more people to actually set the whole thing up to begin with. And then once that occurs, really, just a few people could run the whole operation. Or you could have a whole aluminum foundry come to town, and it takes the same amount of power to smelt all the aluminum or steel or whatever, and it employs way, way more people. So, don't be super excited if a mining operation comes to your town and be like, oh, it's going to create jobs. Unfortunately, it's just not. I'm really bullish on crypto. I love crypto, but you're fooling yourself if you think that, Bitcoin mining operations create a lot of jobs. They just don't. So this whole Solar Alliance, they're coming to town. They're providing their own, they're providing their own panels, and so that's not really generating even electricity, funds to the power plant or anything like that, which is all good. However, some good things about mining operations come to town is that they do, provide a lot of money in taxes. They provide, they fill up a derelict property. Usually, it's usually an old factory or a car lot or something, some kind of big building that was once totally vacant. And they're providing rent to either the town or to somebody, providing taxes. That's all said and good, but not a lot of jobs though. So let's go ahead and hit a refresh on this, see if we're at 289. We are. So we are slowly chugging back on up. We reached a pretty critical bottom, and looks like it might be coming back up. But again, could be a dead cat bounce. Pardon the ridiculousness and the hyperbole of that reference, but it is a thing that everybody says. It's basically when you see like this bottom here, and it goes back up, and then we just see it go bottom out again. It's just why even anybody uses that horrible term, I don't know, but it is what it is. So everything's looking pretty all right for now. I'd still say it's a good time to buy, even if it goes down another, even down to 6,000. This would be a plenty good time to buy. If crypto at the end of the year has a nice bull run like it usually does every fourth quarter, it turns out that buying it, the difference between buying at 6,000 and 6,600, really not that big. You didn't miss out on too much, to be totally honest. Or just, hope and wait for the bottom. But the thing is the longer you wait, sometimes the price keeps going up and you're like, no, it'll bottom out. And it just keeps on going up. And then you're like, I'll buy in. And you end up buying in way higher anyway. So use that DCA, that dollar cost averaging investing, where you just put in $50 every time you get paid, $100 every time you get paid. Maybe you're super rich and you can put in $1,000 every time you get paid. Either way, and that way you're getting, an equal. You're putting in an equal amount of money, but you're getting an unequal amount of shares depending on the price. If the price is way up, you're getting less shares. If the price goes way down, you're getting more shares. But it is the safer way to do it, other than the lump sum investing, like putting all of your money down at one price and then the price really, really dips another $1,000 and you kind of screwed yourself. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and as usual, I will see you guys next time.